There we are. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Pantry to Plate. I'm Kristen, the food bank dietitian, and I'm super excited today to be talking to you about peppers. You know where we are. We're at the food bank's learning kitchen, thanks to Kaiser Permanente. Let's get started. I've got 3 great recipes for you to use bell peppers as the star ingredient on some easy dinners. So you may have seen that our title is Simple Dinners, Saved by the Bell Pepper. I thought that was cute. You thought that was cute? Okay, let's get started. So 3 recipes. First one, we're going to do a stuffed bell pepper. It's a classic. The next one's going to be a fajita sheet pan dinner, everything in one tray. And then last but not least is pepper steak with a little twist on it. So first things up, we're going to do our stuffed bell peppers. So, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to show you how to cut the pepper first. Let's do that so you've got a great foundation on peppers. Getting ahead of myself there. So today I've got a green bell pepper. We know that they are generally this size, and you find them red and yellow and orange and green. You may have noticed that the yellow and the red and the orange are typically more expensive in the grocery store. But I have a secret for you. They are all the same bell peppers. You may see this bell pepper has a little bit of a red-orange right here and some yellow. That's because all green bell peppers are just less ripe. So if you were to buy green ones and you let them sit out in room temperature for a few days, they're going to start changing colors. And the color is going to be like a surprise. So this one could end up being like red or orange or yellow, but we're going to use it today so we won't find out. So that is a fun fact. Buy your green ones and then you'll eventually have some colorful ones. So I'm going to show you how to cut this bell pepper in the 3 different ways that we are using it for this video. So for stuffed bell peppers, I'm not going to show you because I'm going to show you the rest of the steps. But for stuffed, you're going to cut it down the middle through the roots, and then you're going to open it up, and you're going to see the seeds inside, and then you're just going to scoop them out. So then you'll have 2 halves to stuff for your stuffed bell peppers. First, let me show you how to cut it into strips and then a dice. So my favorite way to do that is to cut a square around the center core. So once you get all the sides off of it, you can easily remove the seeds in one piece. So I'm going to show you. So we're just going to make a square, cut all the way down, just like so. And then here's that last side. Oops, getting stuck. So there's our little seed ball that we're going to toss. And it didn't lose any seeds on the cutting board or anything like that. So this last piece here has the bottom still attached to it, and we're going to keep the bottom piece. It has a teeny little bit of like the little tiny bottom stem. No worries, keep that. You can keep it, and then the only thing you're tossing is the insides and the smallest amount of pepper around the top. So we've got our 4 pieces of bell pepper here. So from here, we're going to cut it into strips. So all you do is take your knife as thick as you want them to be. Always remember that the thicker the slice, the bigger the dice, right? So if you made really skinny strips, your dice is going to be a lot smaller, and that is totally up to you. The smaller size is going to cook faster, and then the bigger size will take a little bit more time. So up to your preference there. Okay, here's my strips. So what you're going to do, I'm just going to use about half of this. You're going to line them all up, and then you're just going to cut them in the opposite direction. And here's your little cubes. You can make them smaller if you choose to do that. This is the size that we're using today in our stuffed peppers. And the strip size is what we're using in the fajita sheet pan dinner. Okay, now we can cook. Actually, let me cut this real quick because we got to use it. So if you're maybe thinking, you want me to cut all these things prior to cooking on a busy weeknight, I understand that that can be super stressful. So I would recommend, if you have some time, some other time, and you've got some bell peppers on hand, just go ahead and give them a chop and throw them in your freezer. You can dice some up, or you can cut some into strips, and then they are readily available for you when you have the time. And that's also a good tip for if you're not going to be able to use the peppers as quickly as you like after you get them. So you could go ahead and chop them up and get them in your freezer, and they work just as well as fresh peppers. Okay, now we can move on. So I'm gonna grab this in just a minute. I'm gonna talk to you about our stuffed peppers. Here we are. Look at these beautiful colors. They look so great on the camera. So this is a vegetarian dish. If you leave the cheese off, it is going to be vegan, or you can use vegan cheese. Our filling today is a mixture of lentils and rice. You can use white rice or brown rice in this dish. So this is a great opportunity for leftover cooked lentils and cooked rice. So if you had that in a previous meal and you've got some left over, great opportunity to make stuffed peppers. Because then all you have to do is make your little sauce, mix in your leftovers, and then fill your peppers. So the sauce here is 1 can, a little 15-ounce can of tomato sauce, mixed in with some Italian seasoning and garlic powder. We love our Italian seasoning here. And salt and pepper, just a little bit. Mix it, onion. We have onion in there too. So you're going to saute your onion, add your sauce, and then you will add in your cooked lentils and rice and mix it all together. You're going to pre-bake your peppers while you're making your sauce. And that just helps them get a little bit soft while your sauce is cooking. You could technically not pre-bake them and then just cook them a little bit longer in the oven so they get more tender. They have a pretty thick wall, so it'll take a little bit more time for them to get tender, but it's not going to hurt the filling if you want to do that and just not toss them in the oven first. So we're not going to do that this time because I didn't do it yet, but we're going to go ahead and fill our peppers here. So I like to cut them in half from top to bottom because you get more pieces, which makes you feel like you're getting more food. That makes sense. So your 1/2 may feel like you're eating more, and then you could get full before you technically ate like the whole pepper, which is how some recipes have you to do it. So here we go. I'm gonna fill it up just enough to hit the top. Then you're gonna bake this for about 20 minutes, and then you're gonna add the cheese, and the cheese will be melted, and you can put it under the broiler if you like that to get your cheese nice and brown, but that's totally up to you. I'm gonna go put this in the oven, and then we're gonna go look at our next recipe. This oven. Okay. Next recipe. I think this one is my second favorite out of the 3 that we're making today. We're making a fajita sheet pan dinner with chicken. So you can use any protein that you like here. I'm going to show you one that I have already prepared that's made with canned chicken. And then this version is going to be made with chicken breast cut into strips. You could also use some other cuts of chicken, or you can use some beef, or whatever you prefer. If you're vegetarian, throw some chickpeas on there and you have a good plant-based protein. This is really simple. We're going to add the chicken and the peppers and the onions all onto the tray at the same time. We're gonna put seasoning on it and oil, mix it up, throw it in the oven. I'm gonna grab my gloves. So I love this dish because it gives you a chance to eat the rainbow. You've probably heard that recommendation before. The more opportunity you have to include more colors, you're going to get more nutrients that are going to help you in different wonderful ways. So for here, we're using a red, a yellow, and an orange bell pepper. Not required. So you can use whatever color you have available to you. If green is it, green works. So here's our bell pepper strips. These are so nice. And then here's our onion. This is about 1/4 of a really large onion. So if you like a lot of onion, you can add some more. Totally up to you. There's that. I'm gonna slide this over. It'll be a little bit easier to put my chicken on this side. So this is about right around, a pound of chicken. And it's cut into thin strips, kind of like chicken tenders. I was able to find tenderloin at a discounted price, so I chose that. But you can choose the chicken breast. It turns into quite a few pieces of chicken when you cut those tenderloins into a few extra slices. I'm just evening them out here, and we're gonna add our seasoning. So you can use a low sodium taco seasoning packet, works perfect here. You need about 3 tablespoons. But if you want to make it from some spices and seasonings that you have on hand, you can use equal parts. We're working with smoked paprika. We've got some chili powder and some cumin in there, some like Mexican inspired seasonings, garlic powder, a little bit of salt and pepper. Oregano is the last one. Yeah. Did you know oregano's in the taco seasoning? I really didn't know that until quite recently. We learn something new every day. Okay, seasoning's gonna go here on top. I'm not gonna sprinkle some on top of my chicken. Don't worry, we're gonna mix it up. No pepper or chicken will be left untouched here. There we go. And then you can use whatever type of oil you prefer. If you have a liquid oil that you like better, or you don't like the flavor of olive oil, you can use those. So I'm going to use olive oil. So let me grab that. I'm going to use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Just do a drizzle over the top. I'm just going to eyeball it. There we go. A little bit on the chicken. Cool. Okay, let me grab another glove. And we're just going to mix it all together and toss it in the oven. Our oven is preheated to 425, and then we're going to cook it for about 25 minutes. If you are using canned chicken, what I did, and I will show you the final product, is I mixed the chicken with some seasoning right out of the can. So we seasoned it, and then once I got the peppers on the tray and the chicken on the tray, I mix it all together. So you don't have like a section where there's chicken and a section where there's peppers. And that helps the chicken to not burn and dry out, because the peppers are going to release some water while they cook. There we go. All seasoned up. This one's missing some seasoning. There we go. All right. Try to get them spread as evenly as you can with the biggest sheet pan you have, because if they're too overlapped, they might steam more than get brown and a little bit charred like we're looking for. So try to do that. If you don't have it, you can split it into a couple of pans. And if you don't have that, use the pan you got. Okay, we're going into the 425-degree oven. Okay, last recipe we're going to talk about is really exciting, and it kind of changed as I was working through the recipe just based on what was available at the grocery store. So we're going to be making pepper steak, but instead of using steak, you can use ground beef, a lean ground beef, or today I'm using shaved beef. So this was cheaper at the grocery store than trying to find a thin, cheap steak. I couldn't find a steak that was 1 pound, less than $10. This was right under 1 pound of shaved beef, and it was about $6.99. So this was a really good, as close as we can get to steak without using a ground beef, and I'm really happy with the way that it came out. So we're gonna cook it over here on our stove top. There we go. I've got my pan warming up over here. I'm gonna do a medium high. Let's say medium. Give it some oil. We're going to toss in our diced peppers from earlier and our onions, and we're gonna let them cook just a few minutes. I love this shaved beef because it cooks super fast. Like, all you have to do is brown it. It's so paper thin. So if you were using a ground beef, that's the sound you're looking for. If you were using a ground beef, you would want to brown the beef first, and then you would take it out of the pan and drain off the fat, and then you would add your veggies and saute those, and then bring it all back to the pan and add the sauce at the end. With this beef, you don't have to do the meat step first and take it out and put it back. This beef is really lean. It does not have a lot of fat on it, so you don't have any extra fat in the pan. I'm really happy with this. I've seen it so many times when I go to the grocery store, and just always been curious about it. And this is actually, I would say, the first thing that would come to your mind when you see this is Philly cheesesteaks. It really is Philly cheesesteak, like shredded texture. So I think this final pepper steak would go great on a sub roll or a hoagie, and you have pepper steak sub instead of Philly cheesesteak. Okay. So you're gonna let these cook just enough for your onions to just start looking clear. You don't want to overcook it. You still want some texture on your peppers and onions, unless you don't like that. Do you? And cook it to your preference. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some garlic here. I have 1 clove. I believe it's 1 clove. You can also use garlic powder. There we go. I'm going to just give it a little bit more spray because I'm going to add my beef, and my beef doesn't have a lot of fat on it. I want it to stick. These stainless steel pans are really easy for your food to stick. So here goes the beef. There we go. I like to use tongs here because you can separate out the beef really easily, because it can't get all clumped up together. So here, the cold beef actually brought down the temperature of my pan just a little bit, so I'm just going to turn it up so we can get that beef to cook through. There we go. You're probably wondering, do I have to use green bell peppers here? You can. You can choose other colors. I have the second half of my batch ready over here, and it has a chopped red bell pepper, so we're going to combine the two. And then that's how I like this dish, is with the red and the green. But like I said earlier, any color bell pepper will work. There we go. So like, it's just browning really quickly, and it just doesn't take a lot of time to do that. Okay, I'm gonna let it sit for a second and get all nice and warm, and we're gonna check in on those other recipes. We'll add the sauce back here in just a second. So first one we started with was our stuffed bell peppers. So let me show you what the final product looks like. So we've got 2 lovely brown on top stuffed peppers with the lentil and rice filling. We were super excited about this while it was cooking. It smelled like Italian pasta sauce, and then when the cheese got on there, delicious. So we put this under the broiler. That's why we have these lovely brown topping. So if you want to do that, you can. Or you can leave it in for just a little bit longer. The choice is yours. We've got one piece of beef in here that looks like a stir fry size. Guess they can't all be exactly the same size. Okay, so here's our pepper steak. We're gonna plate. This is not pepper steak, this is stuffed peppers. So many recipes. Ooh, it's got some crispy cheese on the side. That is the best. There's our stuffed pepper. All right. There we go. So a serving of this, technically 2 halves. So you could eat 1/2 and then add something else like a green salad or another vegetable side. You've got your starch in here with the rice. And lentils, though they are a plant-based protein, we like to center on that, but they actually do have some carbs in there. So just keep that in mind. They also have lots of lovely fiber that's going to just help your carbs not digest super quickly. Okay, now we can add our sauce. So my sauce here is soy sauce. Got a little bit of rice vinegar and some brown sugar. You can use water in place of rice vinegar if you don't have that, or you can use an apple cider vinegar, up to you. We also have some sesame oil for that authentic, like toasty flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and add that sauce. What I'm gonna do before I do that is actually turn down my heat to medium, back down to medium, because the sugar in here can burn. So we're gonna buffer it and not let that happen. Go. Sugar is sticking on the bottom. That's totally fine. Okay, go. Lovely. All you need to do is give it a good stir. I'm gonna grab the other half and mix it in. So here's our red peppers and beef. Oh, it's a little bit dark. There we go. Pepper steak for eating over rice or in a sub roll. This looks so good. That looks so good. I'm so excited about it. I hope people try this shaved beef at the store. It looks really lean compared to some of the other steak options, and it was a lot more affordable. Okay. So, last but not least is our chicken fajita bake. And this one, remember, is made with canned chicken. Here we go. So our peppers and our onions. Oh, you can see them really well in the colors up front here. So I'm just gonna take my little, oh, and the chicken is really crispy now. That's good. I see this served over potato chips as nachos. That'd be how I would like to eat it. Also, you can eat it over some rice. You can eat it in a taco. You can put it in a quesadilla. You've got a lot of options here. And I will say this is half of the recipe. The other half is in the oven. So this may not look like a lot, but this will serve 4 people. There we go. So there's our chicken and pepper fajita bake. Smells so good. We were so excited as it was baking. We're like, that's our lunch. Okay. So those are 3 great dinner options for using bell peppers. They're really the star of the show in each of these recipes. But peppers are also a really great accent to a lot of dishes. Like, for instance, bell peppers are found in the Holy Trinity seasoning in the Cajun region of the U.S. So in that Holy Trinity, you have onions and celery and bell peppers chopped up nicely. That's the foundation of so many beautiful Cajun dishes like gumbo. And you can also add them into things like stir fry, which is similar to this pepper steak we have here today. Eat them raw on salads. You can take the whole pepper and cut it into rings that are fully intact, and then you can cook eggs in it in the little rings on your stove. And that's an easy way to get some extra vegetables in your day. So I hope you learned something new about bell peppers today. If you did, let us know in the chat, and we would love to hear how you like to eat bell peppers. So you can find the recipes from this episode and the link on the screen. We're also going to drop it in the chat. And as well, if you will leave us a review on what you think about this series and the topics, or if there's something you would love to see us talk about, please let us know. That link is also in the chat. So we will see you in a couple of weeks for our next episode. And as always, thanks for joining, and try something new with bell peppers.